Hi everybody, I'm Denis Godlewski and we in ITPC EECA team here at the Union Conference on Lung Health and we continue our interviews with the leading experts, stakeholders and opinion leaders and community leaders across the globe. And today with us we have Stейн Deborgrейв, who is based in Belgium and who is with MSF as a leading expert on diagnostics, right?
That's right, Dennis. Hi everyone.
Good to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Appreciate
Happy
it.
to do so.
Just before we start on the professional thing, maybe a couple of words. How personally did you end up in TB? Like, why was it a long time passion? Is it a personal story?
Yeah. Well, I have always been working in infectious diseases, so my basic background is actually an engineer, and I have been working on the development of diagnostic tests during my previous position at the Institute of Tropical Medicine in Antwerp for infectious diseases. So first on neglected tropical diseases, and also on bacteria, on typhoid, on non-typhoid, salmonella. And then when I joined MSF as a diagnostics advisor for infectious diseases, of course I cover not only TB, we work on access issues on diagnostics for TB, but also for HIV, for hepatitis, for a couple of other critical diseases for MSF operations. But of course, TB is one of the key priorities in terms of MSF operations, with a lot of access issues on diagnostics. So that's why it has always been very high on the agenda for MSF. And there are a lot of access issues. So that's how I rolled in then, is on the TB side 4 years ago in MSF Access campaign. So yeah, that's a bit of a personal story how I ended.
With your background, why not the big pharma and a nice salary, but the charity costs?
Exactly, to make a change for the people who are affected by TB.
Yeah.
So we really fight for improving access to health for people with TB, HIV, hepatitis, whatever the infectious disease they have, and wherever they live. As MSF, we say everybody should have the right to access the best diagnostic tools so that they can put on the right treatment to save their lives.
If you're a young engineer, be like Stейн.
We need you.
Yes, we need more young minds and scientists on the side of access. Okay, can you tell us about the current state of diagnostics in TB, where we are, what's going on, the price reduction from GenExpert, from sfere on GenExpert, everybody heard of it, but is it making a difference in practice?
Yeah, exactly. A good question, Dennis. So almost 10 years, well, over 10 years now, we are not in a good situation in terms of the market, the choices we have to diagnose TB. If you compare it to other infectious diseases, we are lagging behind in TB. Why is this? Because since more than 10 years, we are depending basically on a monopoly. So one company dominates the whole market, and that's Cepheid in the US. They are actually owned by Danaher. It's an investment corporation. And they have dominated the market for more than 10 years. Now, this is a very fragile situation because they decide the prices. There is no competition. In a healthy market, you see different companies selling the same type of technology, and then you see the prices going down. This is never happening until now in TB. We have seen the high prices of TB diagnostics. And Cepheid, which is the leading company of the most important test to diagnose TB, is the GeneXpert test. It's basically a cartridge that you plug into a machine that they also sell, and it's the best test. It's a very accurate test, which means it's sensitive, it's specific to diagnose TB, but not only TB, the bug itself, but also the resistance. Like rifampicin, they have also a cartridge for XDR TB, which means extensively drug-resistant TB, which is the most severe form and is unfortunately with high prevalence, also in many countries in the ITPC region. So they have been dominating that market. The standard TB test was priced for more than 10 years at $10 US, which is high because we know it costs them less than $5 to make them. So they have been charging countries, MSF, all the implementers, all the healthcare providers working in TB, double the price actually than it should be. So we have been advocating since years to bring that price down, and finally it happened in September, so two months ago, during the UN high-level meeting on TB in New York, where they announced, okay, we will drop the price from 10 to $8. It's 20% reduction. It's not the 5 that we wanted, but it's a significant first step. It's an improvement. And here at the conference, then, as we heard countries already, that they said, okay, we have procured more now because we have a limited budget. The envelope is fixed, but now they can do more with the same money. So it has a positive impact, this price reduction. Of course, we also want that the other cartridge for TB, the XDR cartridge, which allows programs to diagnose the most severe form of TB, is also reduced in price because it's now at $15 US. It's double the price as the other cartridge, triple the price as it should be because we have evidence it costs them less than $5 US. So we now advocate with Cepheid to say, okay, hey, it's time also to reduce the price of the other cartridge XDR to put more people on the right regimens, on the right treatment.
In their statement, you're going to see the link on the news about the statement from Cepheid under this video. So in this Cepheid statement, they claimed that now they have become an NGO because they're selling the tests without any profits. Yeah, so
exactly.
They are our colleagues in a way.
That's what they say. Yeah, exactly. That's what they say. That's what they say.
What do you think of that, and how did MSF came up with the calculation that the cost of the production is below 5? And do you still believe it's the case?
So for many years, before we did our own analysis, we have asked Cepheid, can you share your cost of production? Because, I mean, we have seen the sales volumes in many countries going up, but we have never seen a reduction of the price. And in a normal market dynamic, if sales go up, the cost of production go down, so you see that reflected in the price. Of course, because Cepheid had that monopoly, they have never done that. They were not obliged to do that, but we have asked several times, okay, can you share your data on the cost of production? Of course, they have never done that. They say it's confidential, it's a trade secrecy, we cannot share that. And then in 2019, we were just fed up with them, and we said, okay, let's do it ourselves. What we did in 2019, we sent cartridges, TB, but also the HIV cartridge, to an external consultancy group, which are engineers. They know how these things work. They know from their experience the production process of such a cartridge. And we asked them the basic question, how much do you think it costs Cepheid to produce one of these cartridges based on your experience? And of course, it's an estimation because only Cepheid knows the exact cost of production, but we needed some data. And it's an estimated evidence, an estimated data set, but they came back to us and they said it's below 5. I mean, it's between 3 and 4.6 US to sell 10 million or to produce 10 million of these cartridges. We know that today Cepheid is selling 20 million.
So
twice of the TB cartridges alone. So okay, we say it's definitely way below $5, and that's where the $5 target for the access for the campaign comes from. Of course, now in September they said in their announcement, indeed, Dennis, you're right. They said, okay, it costs us $7.97 US. So we sell it now at cost without any profit. We are not. I mean, we don't know that. I mean, we say, okay, that's possible, but please show us how you have calculated those data, because the cost of production, we have just included all the hard cost, I mean the hardware, like the plastics, the components, the labor it needs to make those cartridges, and then the IP that they may have still to pay to other companies because of some parts of the technology. But of course, if they also include like R&D, failed R&D, overhead, whatever they can include in a cost analysis, of course that's possible, but we need to see it. But just a point on the R&D. Imagine they include the failed R&D or the R&D itself. We know that they received actually 250 million public money to develop the whole system. So, I mean, they just have to open their books, right? Their books, and show us how they did that calculation to come to the 7.97, how it compares to our calculation to $5, and then we can sit at the table and say, hey, maybe this is true or this is false. So we're still waiting for them to open their books.
I think the point on public money investment is really important, because every now and then in the comments under the videos we have people who say, well, it costs for pharma that much money to, invest in many molecules or whatever diagnostic approaches that are not working at the end of the day. So they have to get their money back by marking up the price, making it bigger. But the fact that they are getting public money means that we are paying for this cartridge 2 times.
Exactly.
Once when we have through the taxes invested into it, and now...
Exactly. They receive money for the R&D, right? Probably they invest as well. But what we also see is the revenues, right? So we quarterly, there are reporting of the revenues. We know how much Cepheid actually has as revenues. It's huge. I mean, now it's in the Danaher group, so that's a larger conglomerate with a lot of segments, with a lot of, I believe, 20 companies are under that umbrella of Danaher. But we know that for the diagnostics segment in Danaher, Cepheid is the #1 in terms of cash that they bring to
the whole company,
to Danaher, and it's a lot. It's billions. Every year it's billions. So we know, okay, we see that cash flow to Danaher. I mean, it doesn't match really with R&D that happened actually 10 years ago, whatever. And for the XDR cartridge, it's exactly the same. They just have to open their books. How much it costs them to make one XDR cartridge? If it's $15, but I can never believe that it costs them $15 to make one of these XDR-TB tests. So we just ask them to be transparent. It's all about transparency.
Yeah, we hope that happens, and we hope they open the books and they will show how they're going to do it, and they will undergo the really independent audit and stuff like this.
Exactly.
Tell me, in this conference there is a huge exhibition, and we're going to show the viewers some of it, some of the footage. I doubt that there is something new for you, but still, is there anything that really is like interesting, like new approaches? Where are we going in the diagnostics?
I mean, this is a conference. We activists are here, companies are here, but also a lot of researchers are here to present their latest data. And I'm optimistic. There's quite a bit of new data coming in, new approaches, new technologies being developed, either at the companies or at the universities or academics. To give you a few examples, especially on the pediatric TB side, it's the worst population. I mean, super difficult to diagnose TB in children because the reference specimen that you need to diagnose TB in anyone is sputum, because sputum contains just the highest load of bacteria. But you have to know, if a sick child below 5 years below 5 years old, very sick, hospitalized or not hospitalized, but very sick, they cannot just produce sputum. So we have seen now data where they use mouth swabs, like just as like we have done in COVID, just an oral swab. Sensitivity is not the same as with a sputum sample, but it's promising, right? And the same with urine samples. The same with not with the machine test, but with with more simple tests. So it's promising, and there are new technologies. And of course, from the campaign, we also hope that we just plant some seeds with other companies, with researchers, that there should be early in the R&D also access conditions reflected in how they will commercialize, how they will make sure the tools, the technologies that they develop are also reaching the people. Like if they are handing over their technology from the company, from the university to company, that they also attach conditions in terms of access. We have developed that at the university, for instance, with public money. We want that our development is accessible at the end, and that it's not priced exorbitantly high when you commercialize this thing. So,
yeah. Molbio, not in terms of the promotion. We are not promoting any companies, but they are showing this machine that is based on artificial intelligence, and they're saying it's basically, it looks like it's the microphone, and you cough there, and they say that they have analyzed 1 billion samples of coughs, and that every lung disease has its own cough signature, and so on and so forth. Like, do you at the moment think it's a valid technology, or is it still require additional research and looking at it? Because people are extremely obsessed with it.
Yeah, it would be magic, of course, and it would be a game changer. But I think I would need to see the data, right? I really want to know, okay, how sensitive, how much of the people with TB you pick up with that app or this cough application, but also how specific is it, right? Because the treatment for TB is long, and of course you can do confirmation tests with other technologies, but of course that costs money. So it really depends on the data of these new developments, whether they have any value at the end. So it sounds great, and I'm really glad companies are looking into those approaches. But before we can say anything, we really need to see the data. Also, WHO has to look to data, because then they assess whether it has any value actually compared to what we have as a reference test, and then they do a recommendation whether it's good or not. So it's a long way. I would say it's promising. We are glad people are developing non-invasive, because if you don't have to give a sample and you just cough and the app recognizes it's a TB cough, but I'm skeptical. Skeptical. We have to wait the data. Maybe one day it will work, but until now, we say, okay, it's important, but let's wait for the data if they have any.
I think this is an extremely important message for the community members who are having like local community advisory boards or local meetings with pharma, about not getting too excited when at the meeting you see in the presentation from a pharma rep about the new technology. You really have to dig deeper and always get consulted by a professional or an expert. Okay, we need to shift the location, right? Let's talk about the future a little bit.
Sure.
Where do you think we are going with TB? Is this treatment revolution, diagnostic price reduction, is it leading us already to the ability to end TB, or are we not there yet, and do we have a chance?
It's a long way, Dennis. It's a long way, I think. I mean, we still over 10 million people with TB every year. So it's a long way, so that until all the people with TB have access to the right diagnostic and to the right treatment regimen. It's a long way, but I think we are taking very important steps now, and we do hope with the price reductions of both the treatment but also the diagnostics, that countries just can reach more people, so that their lives can basically be saved. So we know already countries who can scale up testing, because the prices is lower than what they used to pay, so they can just with the same envelope, with the same health budget, they can buy more tests. So we know it has already a positive impact, but of course not the impact that we would like to see. We would really want to see other tests like the XDR TB test. But don't forget, we talk about TB, of course, because we are on a TB conference. Keep in mind that the HIV cartridge from that company is also at $15. TB is one of the leading causes of people with HIV. So it's a long way. We have taken an important step also as a community, and thanks to the whole community, to push for this price reduction. And we hope, of course, that the companies will come with even more affordable prices, more affordable tests soon, so that the programs can scale up even more. And at the end, we hope to be able to control TB and reach every single person, no matter where they live, they have the right to access the right diagnostic and the right treatment.
Okay, you mentioned HIV. Let's talk about HIV a little bit. For many years, HIV approach to diagnostics of HIV is pretty much the same, even with the rapid tests. Yeah, it's Gen 3, Gen 4, and so on and so forth. Is there any way to have another approach to HIV diagnostics, simpler, faster, and so on and so forth? Because these rapid tests, they are still costly. The ELISA test that is being run in the lab is cheaper because like you can do many samples and stuff like this. Is there a need in this, or is it not? Because like HIV has been around a while and everybody seems to get tired of talking about HIV. But there are other fancy topics, PPPR and so on.
No. There's definitely still much work to be done on HIV as well. And so we have rapid tests, which are the lateral flow tests. The prices are around $1. But this is not the end story. I mean, for HIV, it's a lifelong disease. You need viral load monitoring, right? You need to monitoring the virus, the load of the virus during your life.
Anyway,
Anyway, and you have multiple choices, right? But like the high throughput systems, which are cheaper, you can only do that in the capital, for instance, or in the reference laboratories, right? Gene Experts, the same company selling the TB test that we have talked until now. I mean, they have also an HIV viral load cartridge, also at $15. This is very high, right? So programs in HIV would definitely benefit from a cheaper price for this viral load test, for instance, so that they can serve more people with HIV. The savings they make, they can put it on expanding their portfolio, the number of people that they reach, maybe for other diseases. So it's also a long way, and it's overlapping. I mean, we really need to integrate, right? When we also in our advocacy, we talk about TB today because we are in a TB conference, but we have to also integrate our advocacy and say, okay, we also need the same tool for HIV, also for hepatitis, the same issues. So we have a lot of work to do, Dennis, but we'll go for it.
And there is a space for you guys in this work, so please get involved, read our reports, read our materials, listen to our podcasts, and keep yourself informed on what's going on in the world of access, in the world of HIV, hepatitis, tuberculosis, and many more. The last thing, I mentioned this PPPR thing, pandemic preparedness, and this is like the new kid on the block, the new priority for WHO, for many like big stakeholders. Do you think it is important? And if yes, why? And if no, is it like the trend among donors and global agencies that is changing from time to time, or what's that?
It's an important question, Dennis, because we come from the COVID pandemic. By the way, it's not over yet, but we come from a huge pandemic where we had shortages, etc. So now a lot of these stakeholders are setting up plans for the next pandemic. So they call it the pandemic preparedness response, PPR.
Do you think there will be more other pandemics? Should we expect
probably
more?
there will come other pandemics. Probably. You never know. I mean, I'm pretty sure it will, but you don't know when. It can take a while. It can be sooner or later. But what we always say, I mean, because we work in the countries, right? And MSF, we are implementing care. The best way to prepare for the future pandemic is to invest in the diseases that we see today, right? If you invest in TB, if you invest in HIV, you make sure you have your labs, you have your tests available, like a machine that can test for TB, for HIV, in the facilities, as close as possible to the communities, and then there will be a pandemic. We can use the investments that we make today on TB, HIV, hepatitis, whatever. We can use it to be prepared for the next pandemic, because the machines, they can also test for COVID, they can test for the next pandemic, So instead of investing in the future pandemic, if you invest in the diseases that we see today, we say it's just the best way to invest for any future pandemic.
I think this is the greatest explanation I've heard so far. Okay, my last question to you would be about activism. Many people, even people living with different diseases, they would say activists are like people who are making noise, disrupting pharma, who have developed our vital medicines that are so important for our lives. Why are you keep pushing them and yelling at them, and you're traveling around the world, and God knows what you do, just making some noise.
Yeah.
For those people who still think so, what would be your say towards why activism is important?
I think it's one of the most important things. We are the voice of the people, right? The people who are affected by TB, by HIV. So we bring that voice to conferences like here, to the companies, and we say, I mean, the people should be the center, right? It shouldn't be about the profit. It should be the people who are affected by these diseases. They should be at the center. And we bring that voice to the public space. And in terms of the power, I think the voice, the human voice, and from people affected by the diseases, I think it's the most powerful way to make a change, I believe. So I think it's really critical, and we have seen that with the price reductions, for instance, of the gene expert test for TB. I mean, in 10 years, we haven't seen any price reduction. We know that stakeholders have negotiated, have talked to the company, please drop your price. It never worked until there was a strong public voice from the communities, from different organizations, that we said, okay, it's enough. We really want to see that price reduction now. We had different tactics, but it worked, and they dropped the price of the TB test. It was 20% in September. So this is just an example how powerful we can be as a community if we really act and if we speak out for the people who are living in our countries affected by the disease. So I hope it's answering your question, Dennis,
Yeah,
but
it does.
it's super powerful, and we should be all together on this endeavor for access to health for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.